Good morning, and welcome to our Sunday worship service. I'm Molly Smith, and I'll be your celebrant this morning. I've been a member of UUCP for several years now. I'd like to extend a special welcome to all of those who are joining us for the first time. We are very glad you are here. If you haven't stopped in, please visit the welcome desk in the foyer and pick up a name tag and a newcomer packet. Our welcoming committee members have yellow name tags and can point you toward additional information. And you're also invited to join Shira on the third floor immediately following the service for conversation and snacks.
Molly, not today.
Not today. No Shira today.
We have a newcomer reception downstairs instead.
If you're joining us online, we'll ask you to fill out the newcomer form on the website so that we can be in touch to answer any questions you might have. Meanwhile, our usual practice is to gather in community for coffee and conversation after the service, either downstairs in our fellowship hall or in our Zoom room. We want everyone to feel supported and at home here. So let's begin in that spirit by saying our words of welcome together. Whether this is your 1000th Sunday with us, your first Sunday with us, and whether you strolled, rolled, Zoomed, ran, or danced in, we're glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. Now we'll take a moment to say hello across the technical divide. First, we're going to show the people joining us on Zoom. If you're at home, please turn on your camera. Now, people at home, wave. Now, people who are attending the service in our building, it's your turn to wave. We do have a couple of announcements. Cat Clancy.
Either way,
Either one.
whatever's easier.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Clancy. I serve on this church's Board of Trustees, and I'm here this morning to invite all of you to come to a light breakfast with the board on Sunday morning, October 13th, beginning at 9 a.m. Board members will be available to provide information about how the board works, talk about current issues and policies that interest you, as well as answering questions or having discussions you might want. Those interested should plan to come early, and children are welcome.
There will be a new to UU workshop from noon to 1:30 today, downstairs in the fellowship hall. This is a great opportunity to get oriented to our faith and our community, as well as a perfect place to bring any questions. A light lunch will be served. Here end the announcements. We preface our service by acknowledging our church was built on the ancestral homelands of the Nimipu, called Nez Perce by the French-speaking traders, the Palouse and the Shishums, called the Coeur d'Alene. Let us pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, ground that was stolen, ground that cries out for justice and for responsible stewardship. May our remembering help us to find the courage to do our part to restore wholeness to the earth and all her peoples. We're hoping that folks joining us via Zoom have a chalice or a candle to light and something to light it with. Let's light our chalices together. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
Please be seated. Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Stevens, and I am blessed to serve this congregation as its minister. Now, last week, we connected with our inner child. Today, I'll be inviting us into conversation with our inner adolescent. Adolescence is a formative time when we wrestle with questions of identity and belonging. It's also perhaps the time when the pressures on us to conform are at their most intense. Toxic masculinity, internalized misogyny, bullying, and cliques swirl around us at a time when our hormones are surging and our emotions are all over the map. We still need our parents' support, even as we sometimes aggressively push them away. Our friends are all important, but sometimes the desire to fit in can lead us to abandon our sense of who we are. Brene Brown differentiates between fitting in and belonging this way. Fitting in is about assessing a situation and becoming who you need to be accepted. Belonging, on the other hand, doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. This distinction is still important as adults and even as elders. So I'll be asking, were there parts of yourself that you suppressed or let go of so that you could fit in as an adolescent? Are there wounds you still carry from being bullied or from bullying? Here's the thing, it's never too late to heal, to reclaim or grieve the things we sacrificed, and to celebrate who we were and who we are. Let's begin by singing hymn number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Laura's excited. Okay, this is a round. Okay, how many people think you can handle 4 parts? How many people think we can handle 3 parts? How many people think we can handle 2 parts? The fours have it. Okay. May the fours be with you. I'm going to have the balcony sing with the folks on this side. Okay? We're going to have 1, 2, 3. So we're splitting this middle section in half. That section's going to be part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Got it? I'll bring you in. Here we go. We'll sing all together once so that you've got the tune in your head. Come
I'm here representing the Month of Sundays Committee, and I am happy to say that we have a guest here to collect a check for the Month of Sunday offering. And is Daryl here? Aha. I was worried about that. He wanted to go to his cabin for the weekend. I bet that's where he is. So I'll tell you, he is the director of the Latah Recovery Center. One of our, I think, one of the things that we do that is really right is to keep that place operating. It has helped so many people. So we collected $2,132.49 for the. And I'll mail them the check.
Now let's take a moment to engage in the practice of generosity together. For those of you who are able to make a financial contribution, the logistics are on your screen. We typically give away all the cash from our Sunday offering to local charities whose missions align with our values. A program called the Month of Sundays. This month, the recipient is the Black African American Cultural Center at the University of Idaho. The BAAC's mission is to support Black African American students in an environment that is affirming, welcoming, equitable, inclusive, and diverse in order to foster a sense of belonging at U of I and beyond, with the goal of advancing human potential and growth. To donate, please indicate Month of Sundays on your check or from the online drop-down menu. In the spirit of love and for the continuing work of this church, we will now practice generosity together.
So I invite you now into a time of meditation. And this is a guided meditation, so do what you need to feel centered and grounded. Perhaps close your eyes, maybe take a few deep breaths. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the chair underneath you. And then Bring to your mind's eye an image of yourself as a teenager. Open your heart to let the memories of that chaotic and tender time come in. What identities did you try on? Which ones fit? Stuck? Which ones chafed? Did you make sacrifices to earn acceptance from your family, from your peers, from society? Have you been able to reclaim the things you let go of? Or are they still waiting for you patiently off to one side of your awareness? Are there wounds or scars you still carry from this time? You might ask them gently, what do they need for healing? Let us wrap our teenaged selves in love and more love. Let's tell them they are beautiful and precious, even if they didn't always feel that way. Let's offer them gratitude. We couldn't be the person we are now without the things they learned, the challenges they faced. Let's reassure them that in this time, in this place, they are safe. Safe to be real, safe to be vulnerable, safe to be honest about who they are. In this place, we offer one another the gift of deep, unconditional acceptance. We offer kindness and grace. We offer true belonging. In the silence, let us rest in that belonging together. Amen, and blessed be.
My name is Clover Fontaine,
My name is Michelle Hazen.
and we're going to perform the cup song. I got my ticket for the long way round, 2 bottle whiskey for the way, and I sure would like some sweet company, and I'm leaving tomorrow, you say. When I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my hair, you're gonna miss me everywhere. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone, when I'm gone, when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk, you're gonna miss me by my talk. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. I got my take it from a long way around. The one with the prettiest of views. It's got mountains, it's got rivers, it's got sights to give you shivers. But it sure would be prettier with you. When I'm gone, when I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk, you're gonna miss me by my talk. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. When I'm gone, when I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my hair, you're gonna miss me everywhere. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. When I'm gone, when I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk, you'll miss me by my talk. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
That was moving.
When I think about adolescence, my first reaction is to be grateful I'll never have to do that again. I survived it the first time, but I'm not really sure that I could make it through a second. The way I remember it, it was like having a perfectly nice life and then waking up on a different planet. Nothing worked the way I was used to. My body was changing and I wasn't sure I wanted it to. I had feelings I never had before, and I cared about things I never cared about before. I grew, and the little coordination I had possessed previously disappeared. There was enormous pressure to look and act in certain ways. It was clear I was not a member of the popular crowd. I fumbled and stumbled my way along, and if it weren't for books and a growing talent for abstract thinking, I might have despaired. The thing about adolescence is it passes, but it takes a really long time. The outside world was changing along with the interior one. It was the late 60s. There was a war. The women's and the civil rights movements got started. There were a lot of questions being asked. People experimented with communes and organic farming methods. The environmental movement also gained momentum. The world expanded so much, it was difficult to find a place in it. But eventually, I managed.
So that enormous pressure that Molly talks about, I think we all felt it, right? Mm-hmm. And while there are some people who are able to resist the pressure, who are able to remain fully and fiercely themselves, most of us yield in small ways or great ways to that pressure. We might have changed to fit in and succeed, in the process losing touch with our authentic self, or we might have tried to change in order to fit in and failed, in which case we might have internalized self-doubt or even self-hatred. For those of us who identify as women, the pressure to be thin, pretty, and deferential you can tell which one I hated the most. And the pressure to constantly judge and evaluate ourselves in comparison to other women is a double whammy. We're bombarded by airbrushed images, and many of us starve ourselves trying to look more like the girls in the magazines. I was convinced I was fat all through high school, and yet when I look at the photos, I look perfectly normal, perfectly healthy. I never tipped over the line into anorexia or bulimia, but I had many, many friends who did. Naomi Wolf, in The Beauty Myth, proposes that this unhealthy obsession with slenderness is actually a deliberate strategy to keep women passive. She writes, "A culture fixated on female thinness is not an obsession about female beauty, but an obsession about female obedience. Dieting is the most potent political sedative in women's history. A quietly mad population is a tractable one." I'm going to say that again. It's a cool sentence. Dieting is the most potent political sedative in women's history. A quietly mad population is a tractable one. Now, the rise of the body positivity movement is long overdue, but it has been and still is an uphill battle. There are so many messages out there that our worth as women is tied solely to our appearance. Last week, we talked about kids who were told they should be seen but not heard. The toxic culture, misogyny, tries to put all women into that category. In a particularly cruel twist, the primary enforcers of those unrealistic beauty standards are the very people who are subject to them. Mean Girls isn't just a movie. Teenage girls can be utterly vicious. If you're someone who isn't ready for sex, you get labeled frigid and bullied for that. If you start to experiment, suddenly you're a slut. There doesn't seem to be any middle ground. This is why our sex ed curriculum, Our Whole Lives, is so important and life-saving for our youth in this congregation. It teaches young people of all genders what healthy sexuality looks like and gives them tools to resist the social pressure and make the choices that are right for them. Some kids get bullied for being smart and learn to hide their intelligence. Some kids get bullied for being too athletic, especially if they've chosen a non-traditional sport. The bullying sometimes makes them quit doing things they enjoy. Some kids get bullied for being weird and wind up with battered self-esteem. Adolescence is a jungle. So, I'm curious, what pressure were you under when you were a teenager, whether from your parents, the media, or from your peers? And what were the ways that pressure changed you? As adults, when we become aware of those changes, the places where we're misshapen or scarred from those experiences, we can work on healing them. That healing might look like grieving what was lost, but it might also look like reclaiming the parts of ourselves that we hid away back then. It might look like mentally wrapping our arms around our teenage self and offering unconditional love and acceptance, reassuring that layer of our being. Remember our reading last week about people are like onions. Reassuring that layer of our being, that we were always, always worthy, always beautiful, and always beloved. Let's sing together to that part of ourselves. Number 1053, How Could Anyone Ever Tell You?
No two experiences of adolescence are the same. I asked my sons what they remembered about it. One was a little nostalgic. He remembers it as a time of confusion, but also an exciting time of learning new things. As a parent, I remember interactions veering between having an adult conversation 1 minute And the next, I would be talking to a kid. It's not a smooth transition. It's more like the deepening of a young man's voice, high and low, multiple times in a single conversation. 8th grade was a year of fights and suspensions from school. Luckily for all of us, there were only 3 incidents, and then school was out for the summer. By 9th grade, the fights were a thing of the past. The younger son has a different take. He says, "My experiences of being introduced to cynicism and learning to live with it." He recalls becoming aware of grim news reports. There was horrific coverage of the Bosnian and Kosovo wars. He asked me, "Does Slobodan Milosevic have an unhappy childhood?" He discovers that people are flawed. 9/11 happened. His pretty picture of the world was replaced with a much more complicated one that he was forced to adjust to and cope with. He says it was like an inflammation before it heals.
So let's talk a little now about toxic masculinity. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America defines it this way: toxic masculinity is the way men are culturally trained and socially pressured to behave. Its 3 core tenets, toughness, anti-femininity, and power, range in expression from person to person, but all combine to create the sense of manliness. Toughness means men are strong, aggressive, and emotionally hardened. Anti-femininity means men reject any and all feminine traits, including most emotion, accepting help, and domesticity. And power. Men are worthy only if they have money, power, status, and influence. So those fights in 8th grade, blame toxic masculinity. Also, hormones. Like Molly, I'm the mother of 2 boys, and as a feminist, I was determined to raise them to respect women and treat them as equals. Really, to respect all people and treat them as equals. I taught them to step up and do their share of housework, but where I failed was in helping them develop the skills and vocabulary to navigate their emotional lives. I've got to say, it felt like an uphill battle. My older son, Sam, got ruthlessly bullied for crying in class in the 6th grade. It was so bad we had to pull him out, and I homeschooled him until he moved into middle school, into a different school. And then I think Sam bullied his younger brother. Daniel was one of those teenage boys who just shut down. We know those boys, right? He's actually talked about the fact that he feels numb now, that when he should feel sad, he doesn't feel anything at all. He acknowledges that this isn't how he wants to be. But our culture is so incredibly hostile to men expressing emotion. Because distancing ourselves from emotion and empathy is the prerequisite for violence, the result of this societal dysfunction is utterly brutal. Toxic masculinity leads directly to the prevalence of rape and sexual assault, and it's largely to blame for the epidemic of school shootings. It's utterly heartbreaking. I want to share this prayer that my colleague A.J. Van Tyne wrote for 8th grade boys. A prayer for 8th grade boys and all within us that is faced with loneliness, rejection, and disconnection. Spirit of the divine masculine, grant us the strength to nurture in ourselves and in every young person we have the privilege to know the gifts of patience, curiosity, and compassion. To the boy at the edge of adulthood, to the boy at the brink of despair, for you who feel rejected or not enough, for you who feel the unfairness of the world but don't know what to do with it. May your longing for belonging be met with compassion as well as structure. And as you strive for your place in this world, may you choose always the gentler, more cautious, and wiser ways of being. As you explore reactions and test limits, may your edgy jokes be met with firm boundaries rooted in curiosity rather than shame. As you practice tenderness and vulnerability, may your heartfelt tears be met with warm embraces infused by solidarity rather than ridicule. As you experience the highs and lows of life, may you feel your every emotion fully, naming and making friends with each one. As you gather knowledge and chart your own path, may you be savvy to the lies of charlatans who would tempt you with the easy path of blaming others. As you seek companionship and physical affection, may you respect boundaries and strive for mutually beneficial relationships of trust and safety. As you make friends and build community, may they bear the marks of true belonging, the belonging that doesn't make you cut off parts of your own self to fit in, the belonging that doesn't ask you to blame others, the belonging that doesn't require you to treat others as less than human objects, the belonging that welcomes all your joy and sorrow and anger and confusion and humor and experiments and mistakes and loves you through it all, with a love that will tell you when your words and actions hurt others, with a love that will heal your own hurt as well. To the boy at the edge of adulthood, to the boy at the brink of despair, to the boy hearing his own story in this prayer, to the boy yearning to grow beyond what has come before. May you grow strong by showing compassion, grow brave by being vulnerable, grow wise by thinking critically, grow fair by listening deeply, grow virtuous by accepting boundaries, grow powerful by seeking truth, grow resilient by knowing thyself. May you know love. May you choose gentleness, and may you flourish into the great potential unfolding before you. Let's sing again.
Now my grandkids are approaching this exciting and perilous time of life. The challenges these young people face are enormous. Besides the classics of peer pressure, stress, and substance abuse, kids today are dealing with bullying at school and on social media. Kids worry about the world they will find when they reach adulthood. What will our society be like? What about climate change? Many teens struggle with depression and anxiety. For the grandkids, the autistic non-binary one, the one I might have expected to struggle, is doing fine. They have a part in the school musical and also participate in a Dungeons and Dragons group. The other one faces more subtle challenges. He has dyslexia and struggles academically. He has no friends and doesn't like his circus class this year, which he has previously loved. At some point, this may flip, and the one who is now doing fine may be not so fine. The other may suddenly find a niche or make a breakthrough. We can't really predict how this time of transformation will unfold for ourselves or our loved ones, but we can continue to travel through it, or to walk beside our loved ones as they make their uncertain way. trusting in love to hold us.
You know, I think in some ways things are better for teenagers these days. The aforementioned body positivity movement has made a difference, as has the growing acceptance of diversity in sexuality and gender expression. The fact that people are free now to move beyond that gender binary that was so constricting is a good and healthy thing. We're also becoming ever more aware and educated about neurodiversity, and that really helps too. But as Molly mentioned, today's teenagers also have to deal with social media, which seems to foster toxic bullying behavior. They have to deal with the specter of climate change, global war. They mostly wind up with a slightly apocalyptic worldview. And then there's the researcher at from WSU, who came and gave us a presentation on the impact of internet porn on young people. I'm not going to go into the details, but trust me when I say it was utterly, utterly terrifying. Now, as adults, we can work on healing the wounds we received as adolescents, but we also have an obligation to provide some protection, some insulation from those harmful forces for the young people in our community. Having spaces where kids are free to be themselves, free to try on identities and activities without having to commit, without being judged or pressured, makes a huge difference. And our church community is one of those spaces, and we are all a part of creating it together. You know, to some extent, I wonder if our current political dysfunction is the result of unhealed adolescent trauma. People are stuck in junior high. The goal of the so-called culture war seems to be to force everyone back into those rigid gender roles that we've been working to evolve out of for decades now. I wonder if the folks who are trying so hard to do that are acting out of their pain at losing themselves, parts of themselves to fit in, or perhaps they're acting out of deep and unexamined shame. See, bullying doesn't just hurt the person being bullied. It creates this well of secret shame in the person who is doing the bullying. That shame gets twisted into self-loathing, and self-loathing is at the heart of narcissism. This month's Atlantic has an article by David Brooks opining on how America got mean. In it, he writes, "We all know grandiose narcissists, people who revere themselves as the center of the universe. Vulnerable narcissists are the more common figures in our day, people who are also addicted to thinking about themselves, but who often feel anxious, insecure, avoidant. Intensely sensitive to rejection, they scan for hints of disrespect. Their self-esteem is wildly in flux. Their uncertainty about their inner worth triggers cycles of distrust, shame, and hostility." Later, he continues, "For people who feel disrespected, unseen, and alone, politics is a seductive form of social therapy. It offers them a comprehensible moral landscape. The line between good and evil runs not down the middle of every human heart, but between groups. Life is a struggle between us, the forces of good, and them, the forces of evil." And then this, "In psychically healthy societies, people fight over the politics of distribution. How high should taxes be? How much money should go to social programs for the poor and the elderly? We've shifted focus from the politics of redistribution to the politics of recognition. Political movements are fueled by resentment, by feelings that society does not respect or recognize me. Political and media personalities gin up dramas in which our side is emotionally validated and the other side is emotionally shamed. The person practicing the politics of recognition is not trying to get resources for himself or his constituency. He's trying to admire himself. He's trying to use politics to fill the hole in his soul." It's a good article, I recommend. But this is why. This is why it's so important that we do the work to heal that inner teenager. We need to break down our own internalized misogyny and homophobia. We need to be strong and sure in who we are so that we're protected from this bullying and meanness that's so pervasive. See, when we know who we really are, down to our bones, when we're grounded and solid, the insults and attacks don't have the chance to sink in. So I'm going to invite you again in this moment and in the days to come to reflect on places where you might be misshapen or scarred from traumatic experiences in adolescence. I'm going to invite you to work on healing them. Maybe that looks like grieving what was lost. Maybe it looks like reclaiming those parts of yourself that you tucked away all those years ago. Maybe it looks like mentally wrapping your arms around your teenage self and offering the unconditional love and acceptance that was in such short supply. Maybe it looks like reassuring that layer of our being that we are always worthy, always beautiful, always beloved. And maybe it looks like offering that same unconditional love and acceptance to the people we meet who are struggling and at risk, saying to folks who are frightened, vulnerable, and alone, you are worthy, beautiful, and beloved. You always have been, and you always will be. So be it, and so may it be. I invite you to rise and body your spirit now. We're going to sing hymn number 1012, When I Am Frightened. When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me. If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me, comfort me tenderly? Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to love. Please be seated. Our closing reading is the Prayer for Bridging by Aoife Barrington Haber. As the child leaves the doorstep, the parent prays, "Please keep my child safe and give me the courage to let them go out to explore the world." The child prays, "Watch over my parents while I'm gone and help them believe that I really do know what I'm doing." a grandparent prays. Thank you for this precious gift twice given. Let me remember that my child and my grandchild is each their own person, and let them remember that my door is always open. Let's sing now our sung benediction, There is a Love. Please join me in the words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again. We rest in this love on the day we are born, when we are 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and all of the years after that. The love is always there, even when there are forces that try and keep us away from it. When there are forces trying to keep others away from it, it's our job to be the love wearing skin. So go forth and be brave and fierce and vulnerable and generous. Go forth and love the teenagers in your life, the teenager inside, and everyone else too. Go in peace. Come back next Sunday.